Hey guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera for this week's podcast episode. It's our last episode of being 26, and so Megan and I wanted to do something, related to our upcoming birthday. And I think we've done episodes like this in the past, but we wanted to specifically talk to, advice we would give our early 20s selves.
What do you classify as being, early 20s, mid-20s, late 20s? We're going to be 27. Is that late 20s or is that still mid-20s?
I feel like 27 would be, late 20s.
I think so, too. I think it has to be.
And then I would say early 20s would be 20 through 23, and then mid-20s, 24 through 26. That's my personal criteria based off of nothing.
That's so strange. We're entering our late 20s. And it's I feel like I just was 18.
What's crazy is going through preparing for this episode. I have a journal / diary, whatever you want to call it, that I've kept literally since I think 2010 is how long I've had it. It's been very inconsistent in terms of how often I write in it, but I have entries from when I was literally 11 years old. And so, but I just went back to our when we were 20 years old and going forward, and I'm dang, I can't, I was 20, I feel like that was just yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's so much has happened, but so little has happened too.
Right. So that's going to be the theme of today's episode, is just us sharing advice, thoughts, things we would tell our younger selves.
Yeah.
Trying to share as much wisdom as we can.
And I also, granted, you didn't have a journal or anything to go back to, because I gave Megan the idea. I was I don't know if you keep a journal or a diary.
I know at one point in time I did, but nothing that I wrote in that was really meaningful enough for me where I was I want to keep this. So I do feel I threw it away at some point.
It was helpful for me to get back into the headspace and realize things that I knew were bothering me that now looking back they've either resolved themselves or I'm
what was
wow,
hard
I didn't
for
realize.
What was hard for me when I was planning for this episode was in some ways I think just as you age and get older you kind of separate how you used to be from how you are now, and I was I feel I am the same now as I was back then, but I know that's just simply not true, and I probably just can't remember me entirely back then. Yeah, I'm just used to me now.
Right. So we'll get into our advice and stuff that we would share for our younger selves, and hopefully if you are someone in your early 20s and any of this resonates with you, you can take some of our wisdom as we enter our later 20s, and maybe it will help you as you navigate going forward into the future, and hopefully maybe we can give you some hope, insight for if you are experiencing things that we were struggling with back then, and we found a way out of it or a way around it. That's the goal of this episode.
Before we do that, we are going to do our book updates and weekly spotlights. So let's start with our weekly spotlights.
I say my big update / spotlight is that Andrew has officially moved in. So this past weekend, he's been kind of half moving in since Megan moved out a month ago at this point. But his lease officially ended technically today, but it's a Monday. So we finished moving him between Saturday and Sunday, and he's officially got nowhere else to go but here.
Just here.
So
it's exciting. We'll try to do, I think in a little bit, we want to do an episode of another kind of second part to what we did last week, sharing the transition as, phase 2 is underway.
We're also doing a week in the life vlog this week, and so
that'll be
I'm Andrew will probably be in here and there. It'll be a learning curve to be because he doesn't care how much he is or is not in the vlogs, but I also don't necessarily want to we
don't want you guys to have just a completely different experience either.
So I'm gonna try to include him naturally when it makes sense, but it'll still mostly be me, and I'm open to feedback on the viewers viewing experience. If anything feels weird, or is it they're I can tell someone else is in the room and it's you're ignoring them. I don't know how it will play on camera.
My weekly spotlight, I'm trying to think beyond just the weekend too to see if there's anything else that I was gonna include. I might do
a wedding that we went to.
Okay, yeah, I was there was something
happened this weekend.
I was maybe gonna do a TikTok, but I haven't pieced it together. It wouldn't be that hard, but I'm I should rate my wedding looks from this year. I feel that was the best I've looked at a wedding this year.
You looked great. I really did think so.
No, I think me how I looked in our sister picture. I'm like, I think this is
The best I've ever looked.
Ever looked.
Did you do something different in your makeup or like just everything flowed
everything
together?
That was like the
Is it like
perfect
your
angle.
upgraded makeup look though from like when you bought a bunch of
even.
stuff?
No.
Really?
It
What'd
was
you do?
like literally the most simple. I used my Tarte Shape Tape, and
That's like a little bit more than like your normal.
Yeah,
so.
it is. But I did that, and then I did my Pixie blush, and then I, combed my eyebrows out, curled my eyelashes, did my mascara,
And like your
then
hair
I
was
had
just like, a blowout?
and then I did, I have like a, like matte, it's not like a lip stain, 'cause it's not the peel off one, but I had like a matte lip color on, and then I did a gloss over that. So I don't know, I just was like,
I thought you looked fabulous.
I think this is the best I've ever looked, and I almost want to make it my profile picture, but then like,
It's so hard when you have like
since Haley's next to me, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know
So
how I feel
haven't.
about doing photos when you can like tell someone's been like.
Right, I should have had a
cropped out of
solo
it.
moment. I really should have.
You should. Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that was my highlight, as well as I was going to shout out Ryan and I did like a little date, a day date, if you will, yesterday. And we went to lunch at the marina at Sailorville. And then we went and did like a little bit of walking. It was much better experience this time around.
What'd you get to eat?
They have a chicken wrap there, which I love a chicken wrap. So I got some buffalo on the side. It was really good. Got some fries. And yeah, then we did like a walking trail near there, which was good.
Nice.
And then book updates, you guys. I actually have a book update. I started and finished Throne of Glass.
Oh, you did finish it.
Since we last podcasted.
What'd you rate it?
Rated it 4 stars. I honestly, this is a good thing. I'm saying this is a good thing. It's more reminiscent of a lot more fantasy series that I've read than I thought it was going to be.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I feel like people need to start with Throne of Glass, because Assassin's Blade is not like that.
And so knowing that, I was like, okay, this was very much, easy to comprehend and understand. I am not going to say like it's the best fantasy book I've ever read, but that's never what anyone has ever said about that book. So now I should read Assassin's Blade. No.
Now you read.
Oh, wait, that's the Ghost
Crown of
third, right?
Midnight. Then you read Assassin's
So
Blade.
I think what I'm going to do
and then
for
Heir
my
of Fire.
books is I do want to jump to the book club book quick to like get that done and finished. And I've also heard really good things. We're reading
This book made me
this
think
book
of you.
made me think of you. That's our in-person book club book that we're doing. So I want to do that, and then I think I'm going to jump back to the series. We'll see if I
Nice.
can keep going.
I finished reading The Burning Side finally. I did have to go and like use the audiobook because
I also was
doing.
I was doing reading mostly, and then some audiobook, and then I did like a lot of immersive reading yesterday where I was doing Kindle and audiobook.
Nice. I liked The Burning Side. I think I like The Bright Years more, but I rated it 4 stars. And Sarah Damoff, I think, also just announced that she has her 3rd book coming out sometime. So I look forward to
There's
reading that.
also the next book in the Serpent and the Wings of Night series is out.
I'm not caught up on that series.
Oh, there's like, this is the 6th book, I think, in that series.
I don't even know. I'd have to double check what section I'm on because it's like split up into like, it's like duologies basically.
Right.
I'm stressed about getting caught up for Akhtar.
Oh.
Because I did some math. And I think
thought you were going to say you're stressed about getting caught up on your book goal for the year. I'm like, just don't even worry about it.
Oh, I'm not. But I was looking at like how much I would have to like, I did like audiobook, like let's say I audiobooked the rest of Throne of Glass and then Crescent City. And I do know like if there is one to prioritize, I technically should probably prioritize Crescent City, but
Just seems
I like
wrong.
don't want to. And if I do double speed for all of the audiobook listening for the rest of the books, I'd have 88 hours of listening to do.
Wow.
And when I did this math a couple days ago, it's like until release day, that's like more than an hour of listening a day. So, and I haven't
Here's
started.
the thing. Here's what maybe what you should do is like aim for like that second release date to have stuff caught up by then.
I'm just so scared I'm going to get spoilers.
I know. That's what I'm scared of too.
Like, how do I avoid that?
But I've kind of avoided stuff with like that. Well, I would say not really. That third Crescent City book came out, and that's how I've like now started getting super scared about any and all spoilers.
Yeah. So
I see like one thing, and I'm like, I can't even tell you guys what I think I heard because I don't want to spoil it for you. But I also like I don't really know what I heard, but it scares me.
She heard something
a little bit.
So we'll see. But I really like want to get caught up to some extent. So I do think I'm going to prioritize book club book, and then I might like jump back into Throne of Glass and like.
Because how many books do you have
start
left
there.
for Throne of Glass?
4. I have Queen of Shadows, which I hear is when people are like,
And
this
you're
is the book,
planning
it
to
gets
do
good.
the tandem read, right?
Yeah, I don't know how I do that with audiobook, though. Like, that would be annoying. And then Kingdom of Ash after the tandem read. And then the 3 monstrosities that are Crescent City. Why are these books so big?
Anyways.
That's my reading book updates. Any other life updates to get caught up on? How are you enjoying your 4-day work week?
Last week was a little bit different because I did work 4.5 days, so it wasn't really the same, but we're back on track this week. Been enjoying it. I might have 3 patients this week on Wednesday. Cause I'll have 2 treatments and then
Possibly an eval.
hopefully an eval. And
We have been getting, I mentioned this in our vlog, I'm like, we've been getting more 515 calls, and this might just be like the nature of like our ads that we've got set up in a couple different places. They like, are they accidental calls? I don't know.
but we will reach out
But
and find out, hopefully.
We got one that did actually like
Yeah.
purposely reach out to us.
I
We
just
technically
need
don't know
to-
how she found us, but I think it's probably from the ads. One other lady that I reached out to that like I think is going to like call us back for her sister or something. So
We're getting some leads.
we'll see.
We've also got, discharge coming up
I know.
because we help patients and they meet their goals and then they gotta go.
It's unfortunate.
But yeah, good things altogether. It's definitely been nice to, moving forward, I have just like 2 days of work at a time that I have to like kind of get through, and then I have my Wednesday.
You know what I also did figure? Because like you're going to be covering patients for like when I'm on vacation. And like unless our caseload goes absolutely crazy in the next few weeks, I would imagine that you'd only have like maybe a half day of patients. So if you wanted to, you could probably like do a half day Monday, half day Wednesday to account for your 4-day work week, and then get the patients.
Potentially. We'll see if
visited.
I just want to take a day.
Yeah, you can do whatever. All right. Is that all we got? Should we get into the episode?
Let's get into it.
Okay. I had like different like things that I was writing down as like what let's backtrack to when we turned 20. It is 2019. This is right before the pandemic. We're going into our senior year of undergrad, and we're also in the process of applying to PT school. When I was like going back through my diary, like not to say I don't know that, but I was like, I was applying to PT school when I turned 20, and it's been almost 7 years since I did that. That's crazy.
Time flies.
I just remember like in my journal, I was like writing down like, interviews, updates, PT casts, like I submitted for this school. And like I remember like time out the nerves related to applying to PT school, not just like for me getting in, but like also related to
That's what I think
you and I.
mostly in terms of like the stress levels in that whole process was like not just the individual piece, but also like the, comparison, and also just hope of like, if she gets into one place and I don't, versus, vice versa, or like, ideally wanting to be able to go to the same school and what that would look like. And like, what if she gets accepted to one school and wants to go to that school, but I don't get accepted to that school and then I have to go to a different school.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear there too, I think. Also just like the unknown, knowing that similar to like, this phase of life we're in now where it's like we can do it separately, but like we hadn't ever been forced to. And so like that fear of the unknown, I think, was like, getting to us. Are we gonna have to like live apart, a couple hours away, which we've never had to do before.
Yeah.
Still haven't had to do. And like how would that, affect us mentally, emotionally, all of that
things.
stress. So, I mean, if I could go back, obviously I'd want to be like, oh, it all works out. Like, you don't have to worry about a thing. But hindsight is 2020. So like, what would your words of wisdom, or what would you say to early 20s us?
Like in that situation specifically. You're right. It would be nice to be able to say like, it all works out. Don't worry about it. But I think that what's challenging, or in that situation, all you can do is like, try your best and put your best foot forward. I mean, application wise, we looked pretty much the same. So like, it really was more so like, how are we handling the interviews? How does that look like? And so I would say like, make sure you lean on each other in those situations to like, especially get some insight into like the interview topics and what that looks like. Because oftentimes like our interviews were pretty out of order in terms of like when you had yours versus when I had mine. So like we were able to give, I don't think we had a same interview day at all, right?
Right.
And so one of us was always able to give some insight to the setup and maybe what to be prepared for in order to just like best help each other out, which was good.
Mm-hmm. I would say maybe my advice would be control what you can control, which honestly could, like, you know, we could end the episode here. That's like, I feel like sound advice for
many things,
most everything in life. But with that application interview process specifically, like, you really can only control so much, and then like the rest
also
of it,
like let go of what you can't control too.
Yeah. Like, I feel like, I mean, I tried to see, there were things that I could not control that I was like, can I control this in any way, shape, or form? And it's like, no. You already controlled your application. That's said and done. All you can do is do your best interviews. That's it. And that's not even to say people have good interviews and don't get in. People probably have like interviews that don't go the best and they still get in. Like, sometimes it's just like a human thought, vibe, feeling, whatever that your interviewer had that like gets you in. So control what you can control. And then in hindsight, we get to say it all worked out. So
mine's much less organized. And I kind of just have like general thought bubbles.
That's fine.
So I'll start off on a light note, and then when I have more deep thoughts, then we'll go into that. I said I should tell myself, you look best with long, natural hair color.
That's funny. I didn't even like do anything.
Because I was going back, and as I'm just like looking back, I also have been doing a lot of like looking back on my old photos because I've been going back and deleting a bunch of stuff because I'm out of storage on all phone.
Oh.
No, my camera roll. And I can appreciate when I had like my balayage or just like other.
I think what's
lighter
fun is
hair.
like the different, like, it is a change in appearance. It looks good, but like, is it your best?
And I mean, you guys can have your own thoughts and opinions, but I really do feel like I just look best with my natural hair color, and there's less like, oh, this is a good photo of the balayage, and then a not so good photo here where like it doesn't look great. And I also like, I've had my hair at various different lengths. I feel like my hair looks best when it's fairly long. I've done, you know, some mid-length, semi-short, not short really, but medium length. And I just, I don't think that's the best look for me. So that was like you could start growing your hair out sooner if you wanted to.
Yeah. I guess in a similar vein, I mean, I think that I had like a balayage for the longest time, and then like a couple years ago, I was like, I think I'm just gonna grow it out, and I feel like that was a good choice for me as well. I like just like the all dark hair, and my hair's been this length for forever.
My hair also feels so much like, there were times, not every time I got a balayage done, but like it definitely fried my hair. Like, obviously you're bleaching it and like coloring it, so it's gonna be unhealthy when you do that, but like it was genuinely like hard to brush my hair sometimes, like after I got that done. And it wasn't like that at first. Like, and then like one time I was like, why does my hair feel?
Did you go to a different person?
I don't remember.
I would say, on another hair note, start styling your hair. Maybe
do that
just for fun. Because like I've said this a million times, but when I tell you like the act of like styling my hair just in like an effortful way where it's like I'm not just like letting my hair air dry as I did through basically the entirety of undergrad, most of PT school. And I'm not even trying to say like you need to be vain and care about your appearance that much, but like looking back at like
just
old
like
vlogs and stuff, I'd be like,
like
not my best look. And like I know I didn't like, you know, feel like I was stunting on everyone. Not that you need to be, but I just feel so much better when my hair's styled. So I would say, and it's really not that much effort. Like, I think that was like the other hang up that I had was I was like, oh, if I want to like take the time to like dry, this bead style is part of the key to it too. But just take 20 minutes.
Are you asking that for a birthday present?
I did. Yeah. I miss it. Takes a little bit longer to do my hair now. But I would say spend the 20, 30 minutes it takes to style your hair after you shower it. You'll be better off for it till your next shower.
Even when I don't feel like doing it now, I'm like, you'll thank yourself. So sometimes, usually when I don't do it now, I still am like pretty good about like styling it later with like my dry version. And then if I do that, I can also talk and make a TikTok, because that's what I like to do when I'm doing chatty TikToks. So It's a double whammy.
Okay. Mine are all, I mean, like, not deep, but, like, the next one I have is deep. So, this is, like, a quote that I have from, I think it would have been, like, start of PT school. And this was, like, start of the pandemic. So, like, I think Meg and I have openly expressed how, like, we struggled with making friends and, like, felt like everyone else was kind of, like, living their best life, especially, like, in undergrad. And, like, we didn't feel like we were in that same crowd. And, like, we struggled to make friends. So in my book or in my journal, I wrote, I feel like everyone around me is living life and I'm just watching them do it. And so, and that was mostly like in regards to like people dating, drinking, like going out, having like fun with their college friends. And I was like, I'm not doing any of that. Like I'm here, I'm going to school. That's it. And like, I was still enjoying my time, but like, I just felt like everyone else was like doing this stereotypical college thing. And like, that was never me. So, I mean, in terms of advice, I would say it's more so like I know if I wanted like friendship, like, you know, friends that like I would consider like a friend group that I can like reach out to, hang out with, and count on. And like we've established that now. So I feel like if I could give her reassurance of like it will happen.
That was my first one that I wrote down. I wrote down, you will find meaningful friendships when it suits you.
Well, that's nice.
Because we did in PT school even like initially, like, did we find friends right away where we connected and clicked with them? And like, this was my PT school friend group. No, it took a little bit.
This was, I talked about the pandemic taking a toll on like, I was like, oh, PT school will be the time where I can like actually like make friends. And then the pandemic happens and I'm like, oh, so like we're not supposed to hang out with anyone. And like I talked about feeling stressed about, there were some classmates that were like, we're hanging out with people, but like Meg and I were like, you know, I don't know if we should be hanging out with people. It
was a weird like ideological time to like have that as another layer on top of like stuff you're worried about.
Right. So one of the things I wrote there, because this is at the end of the first year, our class did like a party bus to celebrate. And also like coincidentally, the day we did the party bus was like the day that like the CDC like lifted a lot of restrictions, and then like, you know, came and went after that. But like that day specifically, they're like, we don't need a mask anymore. And I was like, okay. So Meg and I like went on the party bus, and I don't even remember this, but I wrote down, everyone seemed surprised we went out, and people mentioned we don't ever seem to do anything, but like no one ever invites us. So I was like, just again, commenting on like the struggle of you and I obviously hang out with each other during PT school. Like we had friendships that we wanted and like friend crushes that we had on people in our class, but like we never felt like we could do anything outside of school because
the pandemic definitely had like the whole first year basically of PT school was something to shuffle around.
Yeah. At least for Meg and I.
Yeah,
like
us.
Other classmates, you know, had varying levels of like how much they did or did not.
My thought with the whole thing of like where I felt okay just like personally was like I knew that the vaccine schedule was out, and I knew once I got both vaccinations, like that was kind of like my personal, like I've done what I can to this point, and like now I do need to like live my life. And so that's when it ended up happening. The CDC was also kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
And then it was like, you know, I wish I could go back and say like, okay, second year of PT school, like you said, we did form like an actual like friend group and like had friendships that like, you know, we were literally bridesmaids in one of their weddings. Like we traveled to North Dakota. Like we're, you know, planning to organize hopefully like a trip to go see some of these friends. Yeah. And so, you know,
they're friendships that like, even with time and distance away, they were meaningful enough to, you know, be able to like jump back into them pretty effortlessly.
Yeah.
Which are the types of friendships that Ciera and I strive for.
Yeah. So I wish I could, again, go back and say it all works out. But it was nice to know that in both PT school and then like post-grad, we found like those different pockets of friendships. Because I remember like, you know, even though we did establish those friendships in PT school, I was like, great, now I'm moving and I have to like start all over. Because no one's moving to Des Moines from PT school. So awesome.
I had a separate thought that was still, I kind of came up with based on what you were talking about with, you know, going out, drinking, this like applies to PT school, but also like even before in undergrad. And my recommendation or advice was, you don't have to do things that are out of your character or don't seem enjoyable to you just because others are. And I feel like in a lot of ways, I never did that. So like, that's not what I'm saying, but I felt bad about not doing that, or like almost not being interested in wanting to go do that, because I felt like I was inherently missing out on, you know, what it meant to be in your 20s and like being reckless and having fun. But like, if you're having to tell yourself like, oh, I should go out to have fun, but like the idea of doing that really doesn't seem very fun to me at all.
I think that for a while, like I wish that I like desired that and like found that fun. But then I was like, I just can't.
I do remember there was one time we went out, maybe this was on the bar crawl, but we were at Brothers in Iowa City, and like that was a bar that like mostly just played like DJ, popular music, stuff of that sort, and I do remember having a good time. So like, it's not to say like I can never have a fun time going out. Like I love going to weddings, and like my dancing is just me singing along to popular songs. So like I love going out and doing that, but that's like what I really hate. This was something that happened in New York too, when we like went out when we were visiting over the summer. I hate when like we're going out, but we're at like the noisiest bar ever, and people are just like talking and conversing, and I'm like, I can't hear a single thing you're saying, and
like,
you
no one
can't
can
hear
hear
me.
Yeah.
And so like, it's the bane of my existence. I despise that. Yeah, I feel like I'm yelling the entire time, and just like I can't project my voice well in that environment. So then like I'm screaming, you still can't hear me. I can hardly hear you. This is a very effortful conversation to be having.
And you know what else like we would get hit with sometimes was like, I don't even like know like what specific scenarios, but like whenever someone hits you with like are you having fun right now? And you're
then
like,
it's like, do you want me to answer honestly?
That much about it. But like there's sometimes where it's like, yeah, you'd be having like, you know, an okay time. And I feel like it depends on the person, because some people like want to be like the person making sure everyone has fun. And so like maybe they're just checking in on you. But now I'm in my head, like, do I look like I'm not having fun? Like, is this going to like reflect badly on me? And like, now you won't ask me to come hang out again because you don't think I'm having a fun time. And so it's like this mental gymnastics of, you know, we didn't go out often, but I'm like, please invite me next time.
It's just hard because it's like you want to be invited places, but like the invite's often to, at least like with acquaintances, like the invite is often to like places you're maybe like not the most comfortable. So then the alternative is like you need to take charge and be the lead to invite and like have an idea of a different option.
That was something else I wrote down that I feel like I've gotten better at as I've gotten older, was be the includer.
Ciera, whoa, hold on.
Do we live the same life?
I said be the planner. Bring people together, create plans.
I feel like, just again, reflecting on like how left out I felt and maybe you felt in our early 20s, I was like, now that I've established like friendships and like I realize how little effort is required to be someone who like extends like the invitation. I'm always like, just include people. Like, you know, they can always, my thought is always put the ball in someone else's court. If they need that friendship, you have opened the door and like made it that much easier for them to like accept, rather than like dancing around of like, oh, like maybe like we'll see each other this time, and like I'm like, let me ask.
Yeah,
the worst they can do is say no. And like I luckily have like enough friendships established right now that like I don't feel like I need to expand upon my friendships, but like I'm always open.
I also feel like, going off of that, there's a caveat to that, because like being the one person doing all the planning, I know sometimes doesn't always feel the best, because like ideally you want other people to also do the planning. But I kind of would urge you to like think of like the opposite of that. Then is like, if no one is doing the planning and you're also not doing the planning, then like the end result is still going to be you doing nothing. So like I think being the planner, and like truly now, like at the stage of life we're in, I really just feel like people are busy. And so like if it takes me being the one to reach out to try and get something on the books, like so be it. I will do that.
Yeah. And I feel like it's appreciated from our friends and acquaintances. And then like I'm like, I feel good knowing like I did everything in my power, you know, if it's up to them, if they, you know, they know they can reach out to me and like, you know, reciprocate and invite if that's warranted without feeling weird. Not that you should feel weird anyways, but
Is it my turn or your turn?
I don't know.
My next one is bet on yourself more often. And I don't really know, like, what inspired this one, especially, like, necessarily related to my younger self. I had a secondary thing of also just, like, faking it till you make it works out. And that's something that, like, I know we said back then, like, with clinicals, with all that stuff. Like, I have always been very pro, like, fake it till you make it.
I feel like this works well with people who experience imposter syndrome, which I definitely
I feel like anyone in, like, a healthcare setting or just, like, at a new job, like, you're naturally going to feel like you don't know everything because, surprise, you don't. And so I think, like, good job to pass me for, like, realizing that and doing that. And I feel like I do it quite well. And so I continue to, like, you know, present myself, like, as if I, you know, have as much reasonable knowledge about as I can in front of someone that I need to make sure I, you know, look like I know what I'm doing. And then after the fact, like, I will have time to reconvene with myself and look things up and, you know, improve upon stuff for the future. But I really do feel like that's the way to go.
Yeah.
In terms of bet on yourself, it was kind of maybe just like precursor advice as we're doing Limitless and, like, trying to do that on our own. I don't think
maybe, like, don't count yourself out would be, like, what I would say to my younger self. Because I never pictured myself as, like, being someone who'd want to try starting a business. And we're still in the trying phase. Like, you know, it's not like we can't guarantee this is going to be my career for the next 20 years.
I think we've always been of the mindset that it's, like, you know, stable, you know, PT job where you're working for someone else. It's going to be exactly that. It's going to be a stable PT job where you, like, you know, you're getting benefits, you know what you're getting paid, you know, your hours. That's all good and great. But I just feel like now I'm wanting to expand my horizons and know that, like, there is potentially more out there for me. I just have to be willing to go work for it.
Yeah. I had some advice for early 20s me in regards to getting a dog. So I always knew that I wanted to get a dog. And I always, like, pictured between me and Megan, like, I would be the first one of us to get a dog. And then I was like, I probably, like, won't wait until I'm in a relationship because, like, I was still, you know, incredibly single at this point. And I was like, what is the right time?
If Vegas looks a little different in today's episode, by the way, it's Winnie. It's Andrew's dog.
She was out of the office, and then she was whining, so now she's here. Much happier.
She's a little more compliant than Vegas is.
Yeah.
Vegas is at daycare for the first time
his first day of school.
Surgery.
Isn't that cute? How it's like the first day of school everywhere, and that's his first day of daycare. So he's just like
he's gonna be break. Like he's gonna be so tired. I hope for your sake.
So curious. Anyway, what was I saying?
He's gonna be walking out of class like he's drunk.
Talking about getting a dog. I do think honestly, like, we timed it out about as well as we could have, but, like, my advice is, like, you will never be fully ready, and, like, that's what pushed me off. Not for so long. Like, I didn't want to get it right when we graduated, but how long after
it was 9 months
graduation did I wait? Like
6 months.
As long as I had a full-time job.
2023, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, that would have been about 9 months. Like, I had a job, I had a house, I knew you were going to be there to, like, help out, and then it's like, you know, once you find the dog, you kind of just have to bite the bullet and go for it. You're never going to be fully ready. Like, it's a lot of work, takes a lot of sacrifice, takes a lot of, like, time management skills, and I was lucky that, like, Megan was able to help me out with that, because, you know, it's no task for the faint of heart.
In the park. Every time you get a puppy, you're just like, why did I get a puppy?
No, literally. And, like, I don't even think
Vegas even really was, like,
I don't think I had the puppy
dog.
blues nearly as bad as some people get it. Puppy blues are, like, that, you know, regret people get sometimes about, like, getting a dog, because lack of sleep, training, like, things get destroyed. And like Megan said, Vegas really was, like, all things considered, a pretty easy puppy. Like, yeah, he, like, ruined our sleep because, like, he has to go to the bathroom. So, like, what else is he gonna do?
But, like, he didn't really ruin anything.
He like was pretty easy to potty train.
Right.
But I do have to credit us. Like, we were
shark teeth.
We were
though,
on top
oh my
of
God.
it. And it's funny though, like, when you get further and further away from the puppy stage, like, Vegas is by no means, like, a perfect dog, but, like, at least, you know, I can live my life, you know, and do the things that I want to. When you first get a puppy, like, you are
That's your
beholden
job.
to their needs. Like, you can't leave the house for like more than an hour or two at a time, unless like obviously during the workday. Like, I had people checking up on him like every 4 hours. Like, it was a lot. And being on the other side, I'm just so grateful. I'm glad I got him when I did, so that now in my late 20s
You don't have a puppy.
I just have a nice angel dog, and I won't be getting a puppy for a very long time. Megan has to go through getting a puppy. Who knows when?
Yeah, who knows when. I literally, like, when I say it's not even on my mind right now, like, it's not on my mind. So that's not coming up anytime soon. Okay, my next one that I've got. Don't stress so much about your relationship status.
I think we could, like,
This
really
is
dive
easier
into
said
dating and stuff
than done.
Okay. I don't have a specific one for that, but I have thoughts.
I like the current relationship that I'm in right now is my longest relationship I've ever been in. Prior to that, like, it would either be like singular dates here and there, or like very short, like a couple relationships that were like 2 to 3 months. So like me and my dating experience has been so minuscule compared to some other people's, especially like me being in my later 20s. That being said, as much as I would say, like, generally I'm a pretty confident and independent person, it means that it was also something that was, like, weighing heavily enough on my mind often enough throughout most of my 20s. And for better or worse, it is kind of one of those things, a part of life where, like, if you desire to be in a relationship, it's always kind of in the back of your mind of, like, what does this look like? When is this timeline? Who's that person going to be? What am I looking for? And how much, energy and time am I trying to devote to this? Because I feel like you hear so many different takes on that. I feel like you hear the concept of, like, don't put too much time and energy into it. And then I feel like you also hear the opposite of that. Of, like, it takes
It has to be
repetition.
a full-time job.
You have to be, you're not going to find your perfect person just, like, on, the first person you date. So it's going to take trial and error of, like, dating multiple people, different people, seeing what you do or don't like. And there'd be phases where most of my dating experience definitely comes from online dating and dating apps, because I really never got approached in person. If I did, it wasn't really something I was interested in. So majority of that, and I'm not ever approaching people. So that, props to you if you do that. But, like, dating apps are pretty much, like, all I feel like I've known.
I would say my take or advice for, like, what I would tell my younger self is, like, I did want to date, but, like, I felt like the older I got and, like, the less dating experience I had, like, it would almost compound and, like, stress me out more, because I was like, now I'm, 20 and I haven't, like, had my first boyfriend. Now I'm 21, I haven't had my first boyfriend. Like, the older you get, you're like, now people, like, are thinking that I'm weird, and you're like, how will, like, any future partner, like, will they think it's weird that I've never dated anyone? And, like, now it's going to, like, prevent me from getting into a relationship. Like, it almost felt like, that meme where it's like, you need experience to get a job, but you can't get a job without experience. That's how I felt with dating. I was like, I can't get a boyfriend if I, like, it just, like, made me get in my head about, like, the older I got. And, like, I got into my first relationship, like, right when I turned, was I 25? Yes, I would have been 25. And, like, looking back, I'm like, that's so not old.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, if you are in your early 20s, in your mid 20s, if you're in your late 20s, like, regardless of your age.
Or
like,
there's also people that, like, could still be at your same age, and, like, they maybe were dating someone for 4 years, then they break up.
Yeah.
And then now they're kind of also still back at quote unquote phase one, maybe with more experience, but also with kind of like that same starting from ground zero in terms of, like, you only have so much control of, like, when you cross paths with someone that you're a good match for.
Mm-hmm. And I would, like, if I were to give advice to my younger self about, like, the nerves that, like, were associated with dating and, like, being worried about, like, a future partner, like, caring about, like, my lack of dating history, like, I would say, as cliche as it sounds, like, the right person, it literally, like, will not even cross their mind. Like, I can tell you, like, Andrew obviously, like, knew, like, I'd never been in a relationship before, and, like, he asked like little to no questions, like raised no concerns. And it was like, oh, that didn't matter. So it was like, okay. I spent all of my first 5 years of my 20s being like, how will this look to someone that I date in the future? And that's not to say like for a different person, like maybe it would have bothered them, but like then that's not my person.
Yeah. I only say this because like I feel like it kind of like maybe putting a picture to what I'm thinking of like when I'm trying to say this. But I almost feel like once you find someone that's a good match for you, you kind of realize that like anyone that you were trying to seriously date before or like trying to see if you could get it to go somewhere because like you're like they're pretty good, like they work pretty well.
But, like if I just put a little bit of elbow grease into this,
then like this could
somewhere.
Work out. We could, you know, keep being into each other. And it's like you don't realize until you do find a good match like how even that level of effort is probably not something you should have to be working towards with someone that's going to be a good partner for you. And I'm watching Love is Blind, the Denver season. It's been a little bit since I've watched, but I was getting through the first few episodes, and it kept showing this couple where, like, I really felt like they had, like, no chemistry when they were talking in the pods, and I feel like they were actively kind of, like, there were multiple instances where, like, they would be uncomfortable, like, talking to each other, and I'm just like, there's no way you guys can be thinking that, like, this is the love of your life, right? But, like, they, you know, get proposed and, like, got engaged to each other. As soon as the girl saw the guy, like,
she was out.
She dipped. But like the whole time leading up to that, I'm just like, you think this is how you're talking to your person? Like it's not matching. They're both clearly uncomfortable multiple times when they're talking to each other. And I was just like, it's making me uncomfortable listening to you guys.
Secondhand embarrassment.
So yeah, I hope that makes sense.
I feel like that was like all of my major like listies. Oh, actually I had a social media related one. For social media, I feel like obviously we like established our social media presence, you know, in our teen years. And I feel like for the longest time I was like holding on to that. I was like, there's no way if I like let go of this, like I'm done, you know, never to be seen or heard from again. And so my advice would be it's okay to like let go and grow and realize that that audience might leave, but like the internet is a vast place and people will either grow with you or like you'll find new people who enjoy whatever new content you like to make. I just feel like we got so stuck.
It'd be so funny to like have like a new person like find us and like if they were to somehow go down the rabbit hole and they're just like, this person had a whole like
the lore that we
YouTube
have
channel before.
Yeah. But like I just know it's crazy like how much like YouTube and like TC2 specifically used to like weigh on me in our early 20s of like how are we gonna make this work, like how because like that was our primary income for the vast majority of our life. And as the internet happens, like trends come and go and like YouTubers rise and fall, and we hit our peak and then we started to decline, and I was like, I don't know what to do now. So, like, that was a big mental thing. And even, like, I feel like it hasn't been until, like, the last couple of years where it's, like, I've found a new rhythm with social media, things that I enjoy posting, that I don't feel like I'm having to, like, constantly, like,
that you're not
ride the high of, like, the TC2 days. I'm like, this is me now. If you remember me from TC2, awesome. Actually, like, we got an influx of followers from presumably old TC2 viewers because of a TikTok Maggie posted. And I was like, honestly, you guys, like, don't follow me if you don't care.
You're actually interested.
You know what I mean? Because my engagement's not as good. I'm getting more views, but my likes aren't as good. So I'm like, you guys can leave.
My last one that I had, my last piece of advice that I came up with, do things for yourself and by yourself. I just think that your early 20s, really like your 20s in general is probably a good time for you to be a little bit more selfish. You oftentimes are probably not going to have as much responsibility as maybe later in life. So I really think it's a time where if you have goals and aspirations, if you have, I want to live here, I want to have this job, I want to do this, I want to travel to these places, like now is probably the time to be doing that. And then secondary to that, I do think, you know, your 20s are a time of self-exploration and, you know, times to make sure that, you know, kind of going off of like the relationship thing too, of like making sure you're comfortable with yourself so you don't need to have a second person to kind of like be your other 50% of who you are. Make sure that you are satisfied and confident in yourself entirely, and then the other person, if you're wanting to be in a relationship, like that's just going to be like an additional aspect of your life, and it's not going to be like all that you are.
Yeah, I think going off that, and maybe a good place to end this conversation, is that your early 20s like are a time for you to build yourself in whatever way that means to you, and then hopefully you can take that stuff, that confidence, that strength, the things that you've learned, and use that to like help pave, increase relationships, increase responsibility. Once you have like that foundational base of like feeling comfortable with who you are, what your values are, and all that stuff. Because I feel like it is crazy. Like I realized going through my journal, when I was journaling the most was like when I had like so many thoughts up here. I was like, I need to get these out on paper. And like when I felt like the most, not alone, because I wouldn't say I was ever like alone. Obviously, like I had you and stuff. But like when I would just like get in my head about like stuff that I like wish was different about life, that's like when I was journaling the most. And I opened my journal up and I was like, I haven't journaled in 2 years. So, but like I haven't felt the need to. I feel like I've been like the most mentally clear and confident, and like I'm good.
Yeah.
So
I did write
a journal entry that I was like, we'll write one down while it's open. Give a little.
This is also to say though that like, I know you guys know like we're not trying to say this in a weird way, because like timelines for everyone are different, and I feel like the fact that we're both now in relationships, I don't hope comes across as like, oh, we've made it. We've got it all figured out. Like that's the only thing that we were looking for now, and now like everything's worked itself out. So, here's that for our younger 20s self. That's not at all the case. Relationship status or not, we have grown a lot since our early 20s. We have deepened our friendships since our 20s. And like a year ago, you guys, like I was 26 and still single, and had still learned and grown a lot. So
hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Hopefully something resonated with you that you can take forth in the future. And we look forward to talking to you guys next week as wise 27-year-olds.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll see you guys when we're 1 year older.
That sounds weird when you say it like that.
A few days older.
Okay. We'll see you guys next one.
Bye.